Hi everybody, welcome to Our Sinclair. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about trap door.
Trap door, all right.
Don't you fall in that trap door.
I don't want to fall in it after seeing what's down there.
No. Listen, what experiences, in the movies, all the time, it's like you want to hide something,
Yeah.
you just pull up the carpet. There it is under there. It's a trap door. You throw something down there, you're fine.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually seen a trap door in real life?
In real life. I have to ponder that. Well, in stages, I've seen stuff like that. Now, I've actually fallen down holes that were sort of like trap doors. Does that count? Twice that happened to me.
Tell me about it.
Well, I may have mentioned this before, and it's a painful memory. But one time I was chasing a guy through my front yard, and someone had taken the middle section of the manhole cover off, and I went all the way crotch deep into the hole. That was very painful, boat. A less limber man would have been killed.
Yeah.
So that was not fun. Then when I was pulling carpet at my current house, they have a sort of a trap door in the floor that's like it's sort of an event, a big one.
An event?
A vent.
Oh.
Like a big old square vent. I mean, I could drop my kid into it.
Really?
Yeah, it's
That's
big.
a big vent. What room is that in?
It's in there's two of them, but the one I'm talking about is right beside my kitchen in the living room area there, the library. And I forgot I'd taken that thing off and stepped right into that.
Oh
and
my
pulled
gosh.
another gimmick, the old crotch buster.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was no good. That was brutally painful.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't a limber stud of a man, it could have been curtains right there.
Right.
Curtains. But I managed to make it. But in terms of a hidden, when I think of trap door, I think of a lot of D&D, and also I think of Evil Dead. You remember the trap door in Evil Dead?
Never seen Evil Dead.
You've never seen? Oh, I forgot who I was talking to. There's a creature, there's a demon in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps rattling the trap door, and it's going, dead by dawn, dead by dawn. There's a chain on it that keeps rattling and laughing.
That's scary.
It's hideously scary, but it's funny too in a weird way. What about you? Have you discovered a trap door?
Unfortunately, no. I've had several doors that weren't trapped before.
You mean regular doors?
Yes. But I mean, sometimes you've got weird doors that you see in places that are like, especially in old houses, you'll see those like little half-height doors that are always creepy.
Like underneath stairs and stuff?
Yeah. Like cupboard doors.
But a trap door, I think, is always in the floor or the ceiling, right? That's a trap door.
Right. I think probably the floor. I think a ceiling trap door, I don't know how that would work.
I bet you've got a trap door.
There is a trap door right there, actually.
There. I was going to say, I knew there was one in here.
Yeah,
a little handle on it.
That actually,
so what's up in there?
That leads to the mystical land of the plumbing of the upstairs bathroom.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not super exciting. But one day my drain developed a leak, and I had to open that up and fix it from below.
Was there any weird creatures in there?
Not that I could remember, other than
How about worms?
This game reminded me of, it's weird, and maybe you didn't make this association, but this, not the game, the series really reminded me a lot of Eraserhead.
I never saw that movie because I heard it was real bizarre and disturbing.
It is bizarre and disturbing.
You watched that?
It was during a phase in my life when I was trying to get over my sort of deal with violent and weird things.
Has it occurred to you that this may have contributed to your even more
It definitely contributed. But that film there's a recurring motif of these little worm creatures that crawl out of the floor. They crawl everywhere.
Yeah.
And these worms and trapdoor really made me think about that.
You ever seen Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan?
The earworm sequence?
No, those were no
horrible,
good. There was
horrible.
an excellent. You ever watch a show called Night Gallery?
No.
There's an episode called The Earwig.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm getting shivers just thinking about it.
This guy he covets another man's wife in the deep jungle, and so he hires a guy who gets an earwig. And he's gonna have a dude slip it into the guy's ear, and these things allegedly they will start in your ear and they will dig all the way through your head and try to come out the other side. They don't stop.
Stop, won't stop.
Well, they won't stop. Well, of course you get bad help. The dude puts the earwig in the guy's head that hired him to do it in the first place.
Oh.
So the guy goes through agonizing pain. Not to give this away. He goes through agonizing pain. No one knows what's going on. Finally, he wakes up and he's still alive. And they're like, listen, this thing crawled out the other side of your head.
Wow.
They find out what he'd done. And they're like, listen, that your pain and punishments is enough. We're not even going to arrest you. And he's like, I can't believe it. He goes, yeah, we bought you this ticket so you could go home. They're like, why are you being so kind to me? They're like, well, the doctor looked at that earwig. It was a woman, and it just laid eggs.
Oh my gosh.
So it had laid a bunch of earwig eggs in the guy's head. Great episode.
So this is like Tales of the Unexpected.
Night Gallery was Rod Serling's follow-up to Twilight Zone. And it's not as consistently good as the Twilight Zone, but there are some prime episodes, and that's one of the better ones. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of worms in the game, and I also had the exact same thought about the Star Trek 2 thing. Worms are kind of creepy outright.
Yeah.
You ever go fishing? Do you ever use, you go use
Oh
worms
yeah,
as
use
bait?
real worms all the time.
See, I hate handling worms.
Yeah.
So I'm a fly fishing type if I go fishing.
Really?
Also,
I'd like to see you standing in waders in the middle of a river fly fishing.
Added bonus, I don't like to touch fish. So my lack of success is always a good thing. I don't go fishing all that much. I guess it goes without saying.
Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, because this is a classic example of 80s British claymation.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your earliest memories with the art form of claymation?
Gumby. Damn it. The Gumby show, which is way, way back. And I guess if it went a little bit further, of course you got the California Raisins. They were claymation characters. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of claymations from my childhood. I always thought claymation was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember that claymation video game, Clay Fighter?
I do.
Horrible.
Ichabod Clay.
Horrible game, but we played it because it was wacky. But I never heard of this show until we start doing the Amigos, and I don't know how it would have came up, but I remember hearing people talking about the show. It came up on one of the other episodes we did. And so I actually checked out the show before this week, and then I went back and watched a couple of little short episodes to get a flavor.
All the
for
episodes are short,
right? But I mean, I watched. They're like 3 or 4 minutes each, I think. And I think I believe I actually did a little work of it. I think there were like 40 episodes or something like that. Yeah, here it is. It started running in 2000. Let me check that. Let's see here. Oh, here we go.
1984.
It started running, and it ran from 84. It was distributed from 84 to 2001. 40 episodes, 2 series, which that's a pretty good run for a little wacky thing. This was incredibly wacky, and the funny thing is, as ignorant as I am, I did not know until this week what came first, the game or the show. I had no idea. So I didn't realize this was a licensed game based on the show. I thought maybe the show came from the game. I didn't know. I know now. What do you think of the show?
Well, I've always loved claymation.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite things. When I was a kid, I remember. Do you remember the California Raisins Christmas specials?
Oh yeah. I
remember when the commercials
more than
for
one?
that. Yeah, they had them every year for like 3 or 4 years.
Really?
Because this is back when California Raisins
and
were
they would
the
guest
bee's knees.
star on other things too.
Yeah. But this is like they would have a whole half-hour claymation special, and it was so awesome. And I love, once I got older, like the process of making stuff. And
you actually made your own claymation?
Oh no! But I loved learning about it, and of course, there's been a renaissance lately. There's been several films like Paranorman, of course, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, all these new types of claymation that are so sophisticated. But when I watched the Trapdoor episodes, it really brought me back to that time in my childhood, looking forward to that California Raisins Christmas special.
I used to watch a lot of stop motion animation, which is sort of the same
It's like
thing.
the Ray Harryhausen stuff, right?
And that was always blew my mind how great that stuff was. So yeah, this is right in the same. I always wondered who had the patience to.
Not me.
It's not even the art, because clearly I can't mold clay or crap. But just the fact you'd have to have the patience to actually do this stuff. And I will say the little shorts they're pretty good. I mean, they're pretty well done.
Right.
I thought.
Yeah, I love. In fact, I set this thing. You know how YouTube is. You start one and they just play constantly.
Yeah.
And I was down here doing some work for the show, and I watched probably 10 or 11 of them in a row, and they were entertaining. I enjoyed them. They're bite size.
They were pretty good.
Yeah.
I wonder when they played these. Did they play like a bunch in an hour, or did they just play?
That's a great question. I have no idea. Maybe somebody in the chat.
Yeah,
can,
I was wondering if they would just play these like one at a time,
or maybe during like commercial
fillers,
breaks. Yeah, fillers.
Were they scheduled? It's funny. I was looking into this show, and I don't know if you caught this. The the wiki on this thing says the introduction scene was supposed to be a parody of Vincent Price. Did you get that?
Yeah, well, I only watched the intro once. And of course we were talking about Vincent Price and Bela Lugosi just the other night and their connection. And so this is just another way that they're connected. It's that Dracula, deep voice, convincing presence of Bela Lugosi and Vincent Price.
I will say the opening monologue here, as I look at it, it does look like something Vincent Price might say.
It's like through the vaulted door.
Somewhere in the dark and nasty regions where nobody goes stands an ancient castle. Deep within the dank and uninviting place lives Burke, overworked servant of the thing upstairs. But that's not nothing compared to the horrors that lurk beneath the trap door. For there is always something down there in the dark waiting to come out. Kind of creepy.
It is. This really sets you up like, man, this is going to be something scary. And it is a little bit scary, but it's also kind of like funny and nice.
Well, I wouldn't have been scared of this.
Well, you were also about 24 in 1984.
I was not, Boat. How dare you? I was only 13. Not that old. I wouldn't have been scared though. But I mean, I can see where this kind of thing would scare you. It's certainly weird.
Oh yeah.
Weird things scare people.
Yeah.
So, But let's have a go at this thing, Bud. What do you think?
Let's do it.
So, we were tasked this week with checking out the Trapdoor, the video game of Trapdoor. This was published by an outfit called Piranha. But now listen to some of these titles. This is what I like about the Spectrum, man. So these are just a few choice titles that were published by Piranha. Beast Enders. Oh, you like that one? Big Sleaze.
Man, are you sure these weren't sold in the back of a Coco magazine?
Flunky, big fan of that one. Halo Jones, Judge Death, and of course, Through the Trapdoor, which is the sequel to this game. And of course, when you've got Big Sleaze and Flunky, you've got to have, and of course, Judge Death, you've got to have Yogi Bear. And also, it's published by this. They were rounding themselves out. This got released in 1986. Authored by a fellow named Don Priestley. We've touched on this guy before, and I'll go through his credits again here. Amongst his credited titles were 3D Tanks, City Patrol, Dictator, Flunky, Jumbly, and of course Through the Trapdoor, but also Up for Grabs, Target, Popeye, and Benny Hill.
Wow.
And of course, we looked at Benny Hill some time ago. This also came out on the Amstrad and the C64. This originally sold, Boatster, £7, 95p, and the budget price to £3. Not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
So, this game, I will say, just right off the bat, I looked at the game before I went back and watched the show, and when I went and saw the show, I will give them credit. They Don here recreated the show pretty darn well in terms of the way it looks and the scenario, the scenery, including a little skull where the trapdoor's at. It actually did a good job. All the wacky crap that comes out.
This was not a hack job.
No.
The person that created this really liked this show.
He certainly knew his material. So right off the bat, you're struck with the way it looks. Now, having played Popeye recently, I had a good idea how we were going to go on this, and it's sort of similar. You play Burke, the big blue freak that works for the thing upstairs. Basically, it's a slave. I will say Burke's got a good attitude.
He does. He reminds me a lot of you.
Thank you. But his voice was surprising on the show. It's like, oi, around the.
I read on the wiki that is it's called like a Western County accent, which I guess is a variation on the British English.
He looks real cute, almost like a big, huge Cookie Monster. But he's
small on the show. He's not
right. But I'm
big.
saying his voice just didn't seem to fit.
What would you like him to sound?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It seemed like it fit okay.
It may just be a culture thing to me, but I don't know. So anywho, the whole goal of this game is to serve the jerk upstairs. All right, that's your goal. He wants fed a lot. That's basically that's one of the big things you have to do. So what you've got to do is go through and I guess defeat these tasks. And the longer it takes you, the more angry the guy gets.
Right.
Which this guy got mad at me a lot for sucking. Because I'm not too proud to admit that when I first booted this up, I did the thing I always did. I just booted up without any prior knowledge of what was going on. And I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I had no idea. What were your initial thoughts when you booted this thing up? Did you? I know you're such a snooty type that you went look at the documentation.
Well, I did both. I wanted to make sure that I had a feeling that this, after playing Popeye, that I was going to need some assistance.
Yeah.
Since this came from the same guy. So I consulted the YouTube and watched a bit of a playthrough before I started playing it, and I'm glad that I did because it clarified some things for me that were very important. So in this game, should I call it a three-dimensional open world Dizzy type game? Maybe. This is another. The Spectrum really has a lot of these games. It's like item manipulation managing inventory. Not really managing inventory, but finding things in your environment and using and combining them with other things to complete a goal.
I don't know how. I will say I printed out the manual for this, and the manual helps because without the manual, I would have had no idea how to do anything. And with the manual.
It also helps to watch the show too, because, like, for example, there's the dumb waiter that takes the things upstairs and stuff. If you watch the show, you recognize that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, a lot of this game is fetch questing to get stuff, and then you have to also know where to put it. You have to move, like you can move stuff from. Their game is made up of about 6-7 different rooms. Mm-hmm. And you can move stuff around to the different off-screen, to other rooms.
Oh, yeah.
You have to.
You have to.
In some cases, as I found out from watching the playthrough after my perpetual failing. It's a lot of it's just based on your ability to, I guess, just be very, very clever in terms of what you need to make these.
It's a puzzle game, sort of. It's not really a puzzle game, though.
Could you have gotten anywhere without cheating on looking at someone play this?
It's hard to know. It's hard for me to go, like, I thought about that, and I was like, would I have been able to figure this out without watching somebody do it first? And I almost, I wish that I hadn't, because it's hard to go back. It's like an adventure game. Once you know the solution of the puzzles, they're all easy. The problem that I have with this game is that Burke moves at such a Popeye-ish pace.
Oh, yeah.
That you really feel like in order to make the most of your time, you need to have a clear route and you need to have an idea of what you're doing. Another thing about this game is that Burke has to grasp moving objects, and Burke is not the most deft of hands. Sometimes it's hard for him to grab a hold of things, and you end up having to, maneuver yourself around quite a bit to get what you need.
Plus, with the depth of the screen, since
yeah.
there's depth, it can make it hard to tell exactly which level of depth you're on.
The depth is cool, and it adds a third dimension, obviously. But it does make pathfinding difficult at times, for sure.
Yeah. So, we should mention that a lot of the stuff in the shows here, the trapdoor, obviously, the talking skull, which I believe is named Boney, is there. I did find out early on, accidentally, when I didn't realize you could pick that guy up.
You can pick him up, yeah.
And he'll help you, more or less. But when you open the trapdoor, crap comes out of the trapdoor. And, all kinds of crap. Worms, weird slimy things, like at one point, like some kind of weird chicken monster comes out, some other weird monsters that come out to do the various quests. It's funny when you mention it when you watch this game being played by someone that knows what they're doing. It's actually sort of interesting to watch the method that you do this stuff. But having played this by myself, like I said, I tried to play this without any help at all at first. And I was utterly baffled. I was just like, man, I don't have any idea what I'm doing. I thought I needed to make this stuff for this guy, but that was pretty much the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah.
And I had no idea you could move stuff on and off the screen either, even if you had to. I was like, I'll go into the trap door. I didn't know. I didn't know what the game was.
Did you not watch the show before you started playing the game?
I watched the show after I started playing. I'd seen the show before, but a long time ago.
Yeah, I think really more than watching the YouTube play, well, probably an equal parts, but watching how the show worked,
Yeah.
really, I mean, this is one of the few. Think about how many licensed titles we play. In very few of those examples, watching the show helps you play the game. However, in this game, it really does. It helps you understand what's going on.
Yeah. So we probably should at least mention what exactly you're doing in this game. So you play Burke, like I said, this is a servant to this guy, and he has you making different things. Like I have a list of the things you actually have you made. The first thing he wants is a can of worms. That's the easiest thing to do. I actually did that but I had to like read something to figure out how to do it. And so what you basically in this game, there's things that are containers. There are things there's like various things that will cook stuff or let you mix stuff. And so a lot of the game is collecting stuff to put in the containers, moving the containers where they're supposed to be, and ultimately taking whatever you created and putting it on the dumbwaiter and sending it upstairs to the the freak upstairs. Can of worms wasn't too tough. It was unbelievably tough until I had somebody hold my hand and take me through it. And I'm guessing surely you didn't get past any of these without help, did you?
Oh no, like I said, once you know how to do it, it's easy. Like I said, I made the mistake because I wasn't sure what to expect at the beginning, and I was like, well, I'm going to check this thing out, and then I started watching it, and I couldn't stop because, like you said, it is fascinating to watch somebody that knows what they're doing play the game. I felt as if I got as much watching this guy. It was almost like watching an episode of the show. Really, it's very well done. This is a very good game.
Well, it's first of all,
if you say it's not a good game, I'm going to fight you.
It looks great.
It does look great.
They did a great job capturing the spirit of the cartoon, or the claymation, I think. And plus the graphics. The Popeye guy, Don, he knows his stuff when it comes to graphics on the Spectrum. He does a real good job. This almost reminds me of if it was not so difficult for me, this would almost remind me of something you would give to a child. It's not almost like a game, it's more like a play set. Like you do this now.
Yeah,
it's sort of a game
sure. I agree with that.
Because it's timed and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it's very clever. The fact that you only have to go through a few rooms. Remember that game we played on the Amiga? It was during one of the Amigathons where it was during the Zombie Hour of Power. And it was another game where you had to go fetch stuff for a guy. It reminded, they must have ripped this off when they made it. That's what it reminded me of. But ultimately, it's not a game I would go back and play again, just because it's like I said, it was kind of fun to watch. But it's and this is a game that's tough to comment on in 2019. But yeah, it is incredibly slow. It runs a lot like Popeye. You've got these huge sprites walking around, or wherever they were, these huge graphics. And they lumber along at a snail's pace. And you're right, when you're trying to catch stuff, it can be difficult. If you don't know what you're doing, you're screwed. I don't know how you could ever. And I know someone in the chat just mentioned they figured this out, Pixels. They figured out the can of worms by themselves without any help. Which, if you had enough time, you had no other game to play.
Well, that's the thing. Again, we talk about this almost every week. If you're a kid and this is your game for the next 6 months, you're going to figure this out.
Yeah, and there is a lot to discover.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that even though there are only a few rooms, they send you to, you're doing different things in each room, and you're living Burke's existence. Burke, his whole life is serving this thing upstairs. It's a thankless job. His whole life is lived in probably 4 or 5 rooms, and you see them all. You are Burke, and you are his story.
Well, it's a sad story for this guy. This is what he does all the time. This is tough for me. I'm not going to say it's crap. It's not. It's in a lot of ways, it's a lot like Popeye. Did I respect it? Yes.
This is a better game than Popeye.
I think it's a better game because it's a little more sensible than
Popeye. The game makes sense. The tasks that you have to do, they make logical sense. In Popeye, it was just random nonsense all the time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I also think that less is more in taste of the backgrounds and stuff. These backgrounds look good, and
it's a perfect setting for the Spectrum color palette. Like the neon green bricks really put you in the environment.
And the fact that they've taken the show and done something. It's a good licensed title. This is not my style of game. In fact, and neither was Popeye. I don't have the patience for it. I mean, I know a crowd that would love these games, and you're probably your graphic adventure types. For me, it didn't do it for me. And it is. I will say you do have one thing right, which is it's a game where once you go through it, there's really not. I mean, once you figured out all the puzzles, and there's not that many. I'm looking here, and I think there's like 5 or 6 if you count the safe at the end. There's not that much going on, and so once you knock these out, pretty much you're done.
Yeah.
There's no real reason to go back just to show it off to you. But I mean, this is a game that you would show off to your friends. Dragon's Lair is is what it reminds me of. It's a game where you really once you beat it, you're done. But it's the game you break out and be like, look at my computer.
Oh,
can
yeah.
do. I'm sure there's many a dude that broke this out to show people what the Specky was capable of. But again, it's a little not. I guess having not grown up with the show either, I don't have a soft spot for it. So
I mean, did you? I really just found this whole universe incredibly compelling. Like, I don't know. I like things that are a little bit spooky, but like also a little bit like kid friendly and not spooky. Like, and it's sort of like the Addams Family, you know? Like, it's creepy and it's kooky, but it's also kind of funny. And it's the same sort of vein for me with this game. So
it's weird.
I think I like this a lot more than you did.
I think you probably did. I looked up a few reviews on this thing, Boadster. Critically, it was pretty well received. Computer Gamer gave this a 95. Our Sinclair gave it a 90. Crash gave it an 88. So those are pretty good scores, all around. I did look this bad boy up on the eBay. Believe it or not, I know you're gonna be stunned. You can get it cheap for $4 to $20 all overseas in the UK. As we never have that over here. This didn't get ported to anything that we would have seen, except for the C64. And I doubt we'd ever get a copy over here of it. So this is something that's, including the show. Like, I've never heard any Americans that have ever talked about this show.
No, it didn't make it over.
I wonder if this got played in Canada.
I don't know. Good question.
Is Jason in here? We'll have to ask him if it got played up in Hoser Land. But this is a show, which apparently, just from what I read, and I read some forums, so apparently it's just, it's like an beloved show. I mean, is that what you got out of it? I mean, I've heard that.
People have very fond memories of this, for sure.
So, I'm guessing that, if they'd done a game like this based on a show that I grew up really loving, I'd probably be really in love with it, as opposed to like, I understand its appeal. It's not one that really did it for me.
Right. We did get some Discord community reviews on this, Aaron. Graham Vebke says, at first the game is interesting and you need to figure out how to solve the puzzles and ask Boney for clues. But there is not a lot of variation here. And once you know how to solve a puzzle, you always know how to solve that puzzle. Animation is nice, if a little slow. Graphics are great. It controls fine, and the sound is decent too. Shame about its long-term replay value. 7 out of 10. I wanted to ask you about this because they were talking about it in chat too. Yeah. Did you find that Burke moved faster than Popeye?
Comparable.
I feel like we sort of expect Burke to be a more ponderous fellow, so we're more forgiving of his lumbering ways. Versus Popeye, you expect Popeye to be strutting around like a stud. You don't want him to be being slow.
Well, Burke is certainly more durable than Popeye. Yeah. I forgot to ask, did you try this in Super Burke mode?
No, but I did read that you have to be in Super Burke mode to beat the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. I was always in the training
mode. Me too. Let's see here. Chris Folds says, what Graham said. I like it, a bit slow for my taste, but once you know the puzzles, it doesn't offer any reason to come back. 7 out of 10. And Pixels at Dawn wraps things up saying, this takes the big sprite visual and does it right. The animations are delightful and the main characters look right. While Burke is a slow mover, this is appropriate for the lore, and it just makes the game feel chilled as you plod around the castle satisfying your master's whims. I wish there was more sound or music, but those are the breaks with the Spectrum. The puzzles aren't too bad, but I'm not sure how far I would get without consulting a guide.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, fun. 7 out of 10. These guys are a little bit low. I would rate this an 8. I would give this a solid 8 out of 10.
Graphically, it's near the top of the food chain from what we've seen, but the fun factor for me,
I don't know.
Like
I think it's because I like the property so much. This was a real surprise for me. I didn't know what to expect. Trapdoor, but it was great.
I like a little more twitchy action, more arcadey style stuff. This is just a little bit too wacky for me.
I understand. Aaron, before we go, I do want to thank all the fine folks that are here with us on Twitch. We record the show live on twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming every Friday night. You can join the party with Curtis B, Picard 2010, Pixels at Dawn, Treyguard 82, Ed Van Helen, live from the Norwegian man cave. Z9K9 is here. And thank you guys so much. Dunk was around, and so thank you guys so much for joining us. It's always a good time having people in the chat with us. Aaron, next, I want to thank our supporters, our awesome Patreon supporters, Andrew Waite, Jeff Owen, David Spencer, Cap'n Crispy, Laurent Giroux, Gary Heather, Eric Nelson, Harbonaut, Graham Vebke, Frodo NL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, Chris Folds, Paul Harrington, and Christopher Hassel. And I want to give a special shout out to Frodo NL, our newest member of Clive's Club.
Yes, welcome aboard, sir.
Yeah. Next week, Aaron, we're going into the sports realm.
All right.
Yeah. We're going to be playing Wheelie.
Wheelie. Now that sounds interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So thanks as always, guys, for watching and or listening. And until next time, rewind tape.
And press play.